Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Evil Within Akumu difficulty. No upgrades, no keys, walkthrough. This is chapter 7, it's entitled The Keeper, and it's part 1. So the first thing I need to say here to reiterate, which I'm going to try and do quite a lot, is the no upgrades and no keys part of this walkthrough are stipulations I put on myself to try and have a really challenging experience. Because I find my first experience with a game and with a difficulty is always the most challenging because I haven't figured it out yet. And I have a lot of fun during that figuring out process. However, it can be incredibly frustrating. But it is kind of that, it's that necessary evil that we come to enjoy. It's kind of like the main character in Rolling Thunder, where he's tortured in the Vietnamese camp and he comes home and he's telling the guy who's been fucking his wife when he gets back about how they used to torture him with a length of rope. And he shows the guy an example of what they used to do, and he tells him to torture him the way they did. And when he starts doing it, the guy kind of loses his composure and he doesn't want to do it. And he says, I don't know how you did it, man. I just wouldn't have survived. I don't know how you did it. And the guy, he's so good. I don't know his name, but he played Heller in 24, and this is a much younger version of the man. He's a great actor. He just kind of looks at him and says, I learned to love the rope. And it's such a profound statement that I thought that movie was awesome. I really liked it, and it's a movie from the 70s, and I'm kind of terrible when it comes to watching older films. I have this stigma in me that because they're older, they won't live up to what they were when they were made, so it makes me not want to watch them. Oh, this is interesting too. On this corner here, there's a couple of standard haunteds, and they see you really quickly. Like, see that? Like, who the fuck saw me then? These guys are wicked alert, but it's not a problem because they all do a little point, so I can use my shotgun and put him down, and he doesn't do anything, thank God, and he takes a match for his trouble. But I think it's such a great line, and you should never let, because a film is old and you fear it won't live up to, modern time standards as far as things are dated, stop you from watching anything, because it turns out some of them, although moments of them might be poor or might be kind of cringeworthy, they can still be fantastic pieces of creativity, and Rolling Thunder is no different. But the thought that you had to love the thing you hated just to survive, just to give it something that kept you there, I thought it was really powerful and really interesting. And it's kind of what the challenge runs for me are when I play games. It's kind of that same notion of, at the time, if you listen to me, I fucking hate it, and I hate myself, and I hate my life, and I hate everything. But I like it too. And there's a part of me that likes it, that kind of sadist smile that hides behind the veneer of a normal human. And I know a lot of people are the same. We like to be challenged, we like to get beat up. And don't get me wrong, I don't pay women in latex to step on me or anything. I don't do cock and ball torture because I think that just goes against everything that cock and balls are meant to do. But I like a good ass whooping on games, and that's where this project stems from. The walkthrough part of it is intended to help you, the viewer, and people who are struggling, because I make walkthroughs on YouTube. It's what I like to do. I have a lot of fun doing it, and people tell me that they help, so I'm going to continue to try and help. It has nothing to do with my ego, it has nothing to do with my skill level, it has nothing to do with me proving anything to you or myself, because I'm an old man, and I don't need that anymore. I'm at the point where I do things because I want to, and if I don't want to do it, I generally don't do it. I don't need people to tell me I'm good, I don't need that kind of validation or that self-affirmation that we all do crave. I'm just cool with it. At the same time, I do it because I want to, so it's not completely philanthropical. I'm not here just to help people, it's the helping people that's kind of the positive effect of it. So to bring this in a full circle so I can start talking about the game, this is intended to help, guys. This is not intended to be a mastery or a showcase of supreme skill. And that is my channel as a whole. I'm not here to build this pantheon impression of myself. I'm not this godly person or any of the things that some people are kind enough to say sometimes when I do something that they think is impressive. I'm just a guy who likes to play games, I record them, and hopefully they help you. Anybody can do anything on any game, and All my videos are meant to be are inspirational so that you can get past that part that's beating you up. Because I remember back in the day when I'd just done a super difficult part on a game called God of War 2, which has been dubbed the Loom Chamber, which was one of the hardest things I'd done at that point. It was up there with, you know, the Devil May Cry's and some of the other games I played on the harder difficulties. It was really crazy on Titan difficulty. So I went onto the internet and tried to look for some videos, because back then people were making videos for it, but I didn't really know too much about it, because, you know, I just didn't understand the whole notion of YouTube. I'd never really heard of it. And I found a channel called Next Gen Walkthroughs, and when I clicked onto it, there was a person playing God of War 2, and he was talking over the video. This right here is a really interesting foreshadowing of what's to come as well, so just bear in mind and know what that means, because you're going to be twisting a lot of valves coming up. So I clicked on the Loom Chamber video and I watched him do it, and his commentary mirrored my sentiments exactly, just how insanely difficult it was. But just watching him do it made me feel like I could have done it. And at that point I'd already done it, but I got that feeling that just knowing that it could be done is enough to motivate people to do things they don't think they can do. And from that day forward, I wanted to make the same videos like that man did. A guy called Beer Baron, if you're familiar with the channel. It's changed a lot since when I used to watch it. Since when I, in my delusions of grandeur, thought I might be able to get a job there. But that's not how the internet works. And that was one of my reasons for starting doing what I'm doing right now. But this bit here is kind of interesting because there's two traps that you have to... Well, I wanted to disarm, so you'll notice I'm going for them immediately. The problem with this is the traps are difficult to do because you have to press it early, and the area you have to stop it in is so very slight. It's really easy to die. People who can do this every time, I have utmost respect for, because it means that you have like a crazy brain for that kind of thing, and I don't. Like, I cock that up so much. It's kind of pathetic. So I always save before I do them, and I always save afterwards, but I'm going to edit those things out so that you don't see it. And as much as it's going to make it look like I'm an absolute baller at doing them, bear in mind I'm not. You see this? This is a big problem in the game. When you press Y when there's a body near you, he will kick bodies. The biggest problem with this is, it doesn't matter if you're holding a weapon, he will still kick the bodies. And the loading screen tells you to hold the left trigger so that he doesn't kick the body. So they even knew it was an issue. Like, why not just have a different button to stomp? Or even better, why not hold the left trigger to stomp? Because in all honesty, guys, how many times have you been in a situation on this game where you've wanted to stomp? I don't think I ever have been. Ever. But there are millions of times, which is an exaggeration, of times where I've wanted to punch and I've got to stomp and it's killed me. Really strange choice. It becomes even more apparent that it's a weird design choice when you use the brass knuckle. Because the brass knuckle is this really powerful melee weapon that you get for beating Akumu mode. And the amount of times I've been grabbed because I've gone to punch somebody and he's kicked a fucking body. Ugh, just... How does this stuff make it past the people who test the games? And I was listening to Yo Video Games the other day, and they gave me a thought I've never come up with myself, which is one of the best things about opinions and about insights. You know, we can't all have them because we're not geniuses. We need other stimuli to broaden our perspectives. This effect right now symbolises a keeper is spawning. I think it's a good idea, I just don't like it visually. I think aesthetically it's not as pleasing as it should look. I like the idea of it, just don't like the visuals. Also, this is a little bit sneaky here. Once you turn off this valve and you push forward, one of the alter egos is going to spawn, which are the creatures I've been killing so far, which I should really talk about. I think there are two versions of alter egos. They are people who were plugged into STEM and had a dissociative behaviour disorder. And it manifested them as a two-headed creature, which is kind of like two bodies fused. I believe there are two kinds of them. There are one that are just straight up melee, and there's this other one that has this crazy chest, facehugger, tentacle rapey thing, a Rotsuki Doji monster. They're the worst. But the good thing about this enemy is, if you shoot them in the head with a sniper rifle, it usually kills them. The second best thing about this enemy is, in certain circumstances, you can completely avoid them and you don't have to kill them. I'm going to kill a lot of them that I could probably avoid if I tried harder, but once again, you know, this is me just getting through the game. This is not me showing you how to perfect it, which I need to stress to avoid future silly comments. But back on the Your Video Game topic, they were talking about something that got missed in Q&A, and Simmons, who seems like a really knowledgeable guy on games, seems like a nice dude to talk to as well. He knows his shit, and I always have a good rapport with people who know the shit. He was essentially saying that they probably found it in Q&A, but when they marked it on their sheets to tell the devs said it was a design choice. You know, like that universal excuse of, oh, that's intentional. Oh, that's intentional. You know, that gut response on YouTube to a negative comment. You know, that's the way I want it to be. That's the way I want it to be. I will not take your criticism because I am right. You know, that kind of mentality that you can't have when you're creating something for other people. And it's the most difficult thing in the world to turn it off sometimes. Every single person who's on YouTube has had a comment where they've responded emotionally to something that they needed to respond professionally to. That's one of the toughest things about YouTube. Sometimes you have to grit your teeth and turn off your personality. And for the most, I try my best not to, but sometimes I would look back on the things I had said and I would regret them because I would feel like it's not the place for that. And you'll notice I don't really attack people as much as I used to back in the day. Like my first year on YouTube, if you said something insulting to me, I would 9/11 you. And I know that's quite an offensive term to use, but that's because it was exactly what I was aiming to do. I would say the most offensive and just destructive thing to people and just shut them down. Just immediately, boom, bomb dropped, see you later, welcome, goodbye. And I do find it funny because I have this ability to not value words as much as some other people, and when people insult me, I just don't care because, you know, I went to little school where people tried to bully me. I bullied them back. Got into a lot of fights, said a lot of shit, you know. I had a trial by fire in the real world so that the internet will never really affect me too much because I just couldn't give a shit. If it can't hurt me, what do I care? And not everybody can be that, and not everybody wants to be that, and I've matured a lot. I've matured a lot on YouTube as well, and there's no place for that, I don't think. Like, the paramount thing to do would be to just ignore it, but sometimes it's too difficult to do it. Like, there are times with some comments and some people on YouTube that are trying to be abrasive or that are there just to be negative, that I would rather just block these people than let them give me views. Because you'll notice a lot of people will say, like, why do people block anybody? You know, they're giving you views, they're paying your bills. And it's true. But I want to build a platform where everyone who's here wants to be here, and everyone's interacting, and everyone's able to say what they want to say without fear of being just ridiculed, and I don't think I'll ever achieve it because it's too difficult. So this sequence here, what I wanted to do is I wanted to wait for the two alter egos to get to me, and I wanted to burn this body and burn them. But at this moment in time, I'm using my old controller, and the motherfucker won't sit still. So I just couldn't really do it. So no fault of the game, just my trashy analog that has a dead zone. But I finally rage quit my pad, which was quite funny. There's a mission coming up where you're in a kitchen, which I think has 0 redeemable factors in it. I think it's just there to be bullshit and stupid and annoying, and on this difficulty it's tenfold to what it was before because of the instant kills. Like, this is another example of a fight you can probably completely skip. You can probably skip all of these by running past them, but I like killing stuff. I find it fun. And it's going to bite me in the ass, but, you know, sometimes a couple of chomps out of your ass is not a bad thing. You can still get by, and that's what this walkthrough is hopefully going to represent. But that's why I say I'm building an empire. And I know empire is probably not the best the best term for something that essentially will be as close to a democracy as I can make it. Oh, we didn't see that coming, did we? Couldn't get a match off either, which is a shame. Oh, also, I was talking about my pad, wasn't I? The sequence in chapter... I can't remember what it is. I think it's chapter 13. I can't remember what chapter it is. Essentially, it's a really bad room in a kitchen. And I was trying to get through it without using any ammunition. Because you can shoot the little bouncy skateboards that kill you in one hit. But I know there's a way through that room without using bullets because I've done it. The problem is, on Akumu, there's this kind of heat-seeking, spiky skateboard that has a bomb on it. And I got to the acid trap, I was turning it off, I was just about to turn it off, and that heat-seeking bastard found me. And it's just that nonsense luck moment of, if I'd have had a little bit more luck there, I'd have got through that with no issue. But because I didn't, I was there for a pretty long time, and in the end, I started shooting them, and then in the end, I ended up swapping my pad to the Battlefield controller. And I'm happy to report that the Battlefield controller works perfectly on this game. There's no phantom left trigger nonsense that I had in Wolfenstein. It's all spot on. And I ended up shooting my way through that room, which is a shame, but it had to be done because it's just bullshit. And the thing that I disagree with is the game sets those bouncy things up as random. It looks like they're kind of random, but they're not. They're so not random, guys. They find you. It's nonsense. They literally find you. If they were truly random, they'd get stuck under a sofa somewhere, off in nowhere else. You know, just like iTunes, where you put it on shuffle and you've got a million songs and it plays the same two twice. Like, yeah, this is really good shuffle, this. But they're the worst enemy on the game by far, because there's no redeeming factors in them, and for some reason, the game puts more of them in on Akumu, which... I think this difficulty is really interesting. I think the way they've used enemies earlier on and they've changed enemy placements is a really cool thing, because it means they actually tried. You know, they put some effort into the hardest difficulty. A lot of people are just going to throw it off because it's one-hit damage, you know, one-hit kill. Anybody can make a one-hit kill difficulty. You know, it's not hard. But they have gone deeper. They put traps where traps weren't before. They put enemies where enemy weren't before. They put new enemies with old enemies, and there's a lot of creativity there. It's just, some of the traps are not cool. Like those skateboard things where they shouldn't be. Some of the enemy placements is actually easier too. There's a sequence on chapter 14 where there's a ton of alter egos and you have to twist a valve. And on this difficulty, there's only 2 of them, and they only drop after you've got the power plug thing. And instead, there are 2 traumas, which are these huge kind of crucified hook monsters, which are horrible. What if I could have burnt him before he got up? No, I can't, because the game won't let me. Great. So that's an alter ego. Should have probably... Did I have any sniper ammo? Oh, that was a shame. Still alive. Yeah, I should have... See, that's not a very good use of ammo right there. I should have just hit it with a sniper rifle and be done with. But... learn by doing, guys. That's what you're watching. Learn by doing. In retrospect, it's easy to spot the mistakes, but at the time, you're just trying to survive. Thank you very much for watching. You take care now.